we're never going to stop trying to do things better than we are today. Otherwise, it's we've all heard it. If you're not growing, you're dying. And we don't ever want to die. We want to thrive.
This is the Just Real Quick podcast, where we discuss how to succeed in the world of sales through confidence, discipline, and consistency. Are you ready to be intentional about creating more opportunities that lead to sales? Tune into this episode right now for the latest insights and strategies that will take your sales game to the next level. I'm your host, Jefferson K. Rogers.
Welcome back to another episode of Just Real Quick. Today in the studio, I got Mr. Brooks Brunson here with me, and over the Zoom call, we got Jared coming in remotely from our Draper office. Today, we're going to be covering the JKR Windows Code of Conduct, and we got our two top dogs here from operations and our sales department to explain from each perspective how this applies and how important it is to have something like a code of conduct in place for a business, period, but how important it's been for JKR Windows specifically. So, Jared, why don't you start us off there, big fella?
Yeah, so we had originally developed the Code of Conduct just over a year ago on a leadership retreat that we had done for the company. And just really in an effort to get an idea of what we stand for, especially as we grow and as we scale, because there's a lot of things that you encounter when you're growing and scaling as a company. If you kind of have a moral compass and a roadmap, if you will, it helps you along that path. So we developed the Code of Conduct. Now, this is something that I like to cover with the directors. We do it quarterly. However, it doesn't just relate to the sales. Obviously, it relates to the entire organization, ops, admin, installation, all of it being part of it. So I thought we'd get Brooks Brunson on the podcast and kind of get some insights from that side of it. But I'll go ahead and get started. So we'll do exhibit professionalism. And from a sales standpoint, I mean, this starts the moment, say, when most of the business we do is door to door, but from the moment that we make that first contact. So whether it be when we knock on their door or maybe even when they see our ads online, that first contact point, it's really important for us to have a good presence. We're well put together, and we're not the only company that offers Windows, but the more professional and credible we are, the more people are likely to go with someone that they feel comfortable in terms of, again, that professional credibility.
Absolutely.
So from your standpoint, Brooks, how would you view that?
Exhibit professionalism is such a huge part of, like Jared said, every aspect of the company. Mm-hmm. At the point of contact, when we're knocking on the door, when the director goes in and makes that close, huge. If we're not professional there, we lose all credibility, regardless of what we've done in the past.
It kind of taints the rest of the process.
Exactly.
That's our first impression.
Exactly. Same thing we talk about with Google reviews. If that first point of contact is bad, it's going to be really hard to get a Google review on that 5-star Google review that we want. But exhibiting professionalism from that point, looking at the whole operations scale and where we go with operations at that point, from the first phone call, that welcome phone call that we have, we've gotten so many Google reviews of, I've never met this person, but them on the phone was extremely helpful. The professionalism that Ray and Cody and Ryan and Haley and everybody exhibited really helped me feel comfortable in this process of replacing Windows. And then if you guys have ever met our installers or talked to them, I mean, we've weeded out some installers that weren't very professional, but who we have right now is extremely professional, and exhibiting that to represent JKR Windows, whether they are a W-2 employee or a 1099 contractor, JKR Windows exhibits that. And we're very mindful of being professional in every aspect, on the phone, installing, getting criticals, wherever it may be. In the office is one that's probably under talked about as well.
Yeah. But I think the important thing is that we have it and we set those standards high, and then we hold everybody to it.
Absolutely.
Because there's a reason why there's some installers and some other people that have been here and are no longer here, because they weren't able to meet the standards. Mm-hmm. They weren't able to, they couldn't buy into it for whatever reason. They had worked for other places that didn't have those kind of standards, and they would prefer to just sink to that level.
Yeah.
So the people that are still here have rose to the level that we set for them. And exhibiting professionalism there's a reason why it's the first one. Mm-hmm. Because our first impression, whether that's over a phone call or at the door or just meeting somebody, at a restaurant. We got a guy just started with the company, and his first impression of JKR Windows was my professionalism and the way that I presented the company and the opportunity and our environment and our culture and the standards. One of the very first things that I started talking about with him is the standards. I know you've worked for a lot of places. This is going to be different than any place you've ever worked. We have high standards. We have a code of conduct. We have core values. We have expectations that we set up for our teams that are non-negotiable. And that professional manner that we all talk about this company and we present ourselves with our words, actions, and our appearance set the standard for everything moving forward.
Absolutely. Like, what a great point to make. Like, where was that first point of contact you met this guy?
It was at a restaurant.
Were you wearing a JKR shirt?
And I was wearing a JKR hat.
So you weren't even at work exhibiting that professionalism. Because I wear JKR to the gym, just out and about. Like,
it's almost my whole wardrobe.
Yeah, me too.
Basically,
at this
my
point.
whole closet. Yeah.
But I do it for the sake of someone saying, hey, for JKR Windows, and you never know what that conversation can turn into, whether it's a recruit or it's someone that needs Windows.
Off to a strong start here. How about follow up and follow through? Let's hear it from you, Jared.
Yeah, so the follow up and follow through on the sales side of things, extremely important. When we're in these neighborhoods and we're finding people that are good fits for us, it doesn't always happen on the first contact at the door. Doing a solid follow-up, making sure you speak to the right person, and that kind of the professionalism aligns with the follow-up. Because when you tell someone, hey, you know what, let me come back and talk to you when your husband is here. I'll be here at 6:30, and you show up. That's that first step in their mind of, oh wow, like these guys are professional. He just followed through with what he said he was going to. So it's that, and we all know that the better follow-up game you have, the more sales you get in any sales realm. So the follow-up, super important. And then the follow-through. I've kind of already stated that with the fact that you say that you're going to follow up with it, and then you follow through, and you continually do that. You're consistently following through. So if I say I'm going to do it, I follow through with it. I make my commitments. And, that's as it relates to sales, and then also goals for these sales guys. You really want to follow up with your customers, follow up with those things that are important in your life, personal life, everything, but also follow through with it, ensure that you get those things done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah. I think a lot of this comes down to credibility or accountability. If you say you're going to do it, you're going to do it. And it's the same thing with operations. If we say we're going to be at your house to measure a window at 10 a.m., we'll be at that house at 10 a.m. We have to follow through on what we're talking about. In the office, we have to follow through and follow up on projects that we're working on. We have a lot of fast-moving projects right now, and we have a lot of them. And if we're not following through and following up with those projects and holding each other accountable to that, those are going to fall through the cracks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And with homeowners, with installs, if there is a mismeasured window or a broken window, if we're not following up with that homeowner, because they've already waited potentially 2 to 3 months for windows. Now they have a broken one. If we're not following through with that homeowner to communicate where they're at, waiting for that last window, accountability, credibility starts to dwindle.
Yeah, that causes some issues.
Yeah.
That's the last thing we want to do is.
And these kind of stack. These kind of stack, they all tie into each other as we go. It's awesome.
Yeah, and I think the follow through, it applies to equally to salespeople as it does to the operations. So there's a lot of follow through for the operations side, because now it's been handed off and we're relying on our operations department to go deliver, follow through, follow up, communicate at a high level. But also one of the things I was thinking about, Jared, is when we talk about the way that we train our salespeople to be their window guy, you got to follow through on that. When you're going to tell somebody and make a commitment, like I'm your window guy, you can get windows from a lot of different places. The one thing you're never going to get is somebody like me that's going to see the whole project through and always answer your phone calls and make sure that you're happy no matter how long it's been after your windows have been installed. You better dang well follow through on that. And we've been able to see the benefits of that over time with additional referrals and people coming back for phase 2 and phase 3 and a second house that they need to get done, because we not only say it and teach it, but we do it and we follow through and we're there for our customers, and we're committed to providing just an incredible customer experience and service after the sale. That the reality is 95% of companies aren't willing to commit to that level. And that's one thing that's easily separated JKR Windows.
Yeah, it's the easy way out, not to follow through with things.
Yeah.
Yep.
It can all sound good, but the follow through, that's what separates us. Absolutely.
Yeah, one of the first times I met Callie up north, I think it was his first week. I was up there and I was in another room working, and I heard him say, "So when the install's done, is it all right if I follow up with the homeowner just to see how it went?" And I just left the room and gave him a hug because I was like, "Yes, please do that. That's fantastic."
Yeah, he's worked for a lot of different places that wasn't really a thing.
It's not the culture, yeah.
And you know what's interesting, when in doing interviews or onboarding new hires, especially directors, when I'm telling them all the things that, like the things we hang our hat on with our service and our warranty and our commitment to excellence and everything, and the way that even as far as it goes with helping out previous customers from RMK Windows, they almost look at me in disbelief, like it's too good to be true. And it's like, this is exactly what it is. Hang your hat on it, check the Google reviews. So it's interesting because it's a lot easier to talk about it, but to be about it and to see people's perspective on it, it's so few and far between. So again, like that's really what separates us, is the fact that like we don't just talk about it, we walk about it too.
All right. How about radical honesty?
So that one's big, especially within leadership with sales, because there needs to be an open dialogue, at least in my opinion, with the leadership, and radical honesty is a super important part of it. And I have this exercise that I'm doing with my guys, and I'm having my leaders do with their guys, where, what am I currently doing that I could do better? Is there something that you'd like that I don't do enough, that you would like to see me do more of? And, what do you need from me to ensure that you have everything you need to do the best job possible? It's similar along those lines, and just getting them to be radically honest about that stuff. It makes me be a better leader. It makes me vulnerable because I'm not just this guy that, I'm your boss. What I say goes. I want some genuine feedback from you, because I like to tell these guys, like, look, I don't see any bad ideas. It's just the timing of the ideas. So please come to me. I'm an open book, and we'll filter out whatever ideas you have, see if they're good. If sometimes we can implement them right away. Sometimes maybe it's more of a big picture thing that's a year from now, or maybe that's something that we covered a couple years ago. But being radically honest, or having them being radically honest with me and opening up and building that relationship, to then be radically honest with them when it comes time to, really provide some leadership and some mentorship and maybe help them get through a hard time. It all plays into building the relationship to then be able to be radically honest with each other.
Yeah, I think as it applies to sales, it's also important that we're radically honest with our reps and where people are at with their performance and their activity. Because we've all seen, the benefits of it, but also the flip side of that, where things are dragged on for too long, because we feel like we're being honest and we're being forward, but there's things that need to be said that aren't being said. And you can consider that radical honesty too. Like we all have a finite amount of time. And if we're not being radically honest about each person's contribution to the team and their own productivity and how they're going about their daily lives and what we see from an outside perspective, we got to do it in a tactful way, as tactful as possible. Mm-hmm. But it's so important for us to save them time and to save us time by being radically honest about what we see and how we see it, and just do it the very best we can as leaders to put things out there on the table and get them addressed.
Yeah, radical honesty to me is having those difficult conversations. They're super uncomfortable to have, but the longer we let them go, whether it may be a small problem or a big problem, that small problem will turn into a big problem if we're not radically honest with each other. And it's important that everybody feels safe in our culture to be able to express that opinion.
Yeah.
Ryan and Haley work together so closely with window ordering. If Ryan can't be radically honest with Haley about mistakes that are happening, that mistake's going to continue and become exponential as well. And just being willing to set emotion aside, because radical honesty is about getting better and improving the company. And if we have our emotions all built up in and being offended by productive feedback, like the fine print on this says, then we're never going to get better. No matter how honest people are with us, how much they want us to improve, we can't put that emotion aside and realize it's a business decision. It's a business conversation we're having. Radical honesty is pointless.
Yep. Yeah, we got to apply that as much as possible in all areas of our life, not just business. Mm-hmm. You know, these are all principles that we can apply to every area of our life. Exhibit professionalism, follow up and follow through, be a person of integrity, be radically honest in every area of your life. And the next one is assume best intentions. And maybe, you know, this one is arguably number one on the list, but assume best intentions. We've all been there before where something happens and we immediately go to a really dark place. And this is something that we put in place and we talk about maybe as much as any of them, because we're all on the same team here. And, you know, not everybody's perfect. Not everybody's going to make the right decision. Not everybody's, you know, thinking all their actions through. But if you assume best intentions and approach it with a positive outcome in mind, whatever the type of situation is, this one is, for me, since we put this together, it's been like a light bulb moment that I catch myself doing this all the time. And it's just such a negative place you can go to just so fast because of the way that we've been conditioned, the way that we've been brought up, that it's hard to break this habit. So I'd love to hear your guys' feedback on this one too, from your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one, like I said, they kind of stack and they all relate to each other, but that's the one I found myself using the most. Assume best intentions, especially when I'm as a leader and dealing with different leaders that are, you know, counterparts to each other and maybe different offices or maybe different departments. That's where a lot of that comes up. And what I've noticed, if I'm in a situation where I have to start assuming best intentions and preaching best intentions, there's probably a lapse in communication somewhere along the line. So we need to open up the lines of communication. Maybe it's that we need to have, you know, some radically honest conversations. But if we're assuming not the best intentions and we go into that conversation like, you know, I'm going to give them peace of my mind, guess what? You probably just lost someone that maybe could have turned out to be like a tremendous asset to your company. Yeah. You just needed to go about things the right way. Yeah. So that's my interpretation of it.
Yeah, I think you guys are spot on with this. Assume best intentions. We have everybody in the company here for a reason. I think they're here continually for a reason. And we trust them. And as it says on there, we build a team of loyalty, trust, and honesty. If we remember that from a leadership standpoint, that everybody is literally trying their best, everybody's bought into JKR Windows, that assuming best intentions becomes easier and easier as we understand that the teamwork that's happening is there to build JKR Windows. Yeah. So if there is a mistake, we go in, mistakes happen like we're humans. We go in with that, assume best intentions, they know what they're doing, they're trying their best. Becomes easier to understand, and then we can resolve the problems a lot better as well because we're in that cool mindset.
Yeah,
I think it just
and I've found just as easy as asking just a couple quick questions. Like when they have a gripe with someone about something, I just ask them a couple questions. Okay, well, what was it really about? Like, where were they coming from? I just start unpacking it a little bit, and then they find themselves like kind of not having really good answers and starting to realize that, you know, they're jumping to conclusions a little bit too quickly.
And there's nothing worse than jumping to conclusions and while you're emotional, sending a text message or an email, and then, you know, come to find out it was nothing that you had made up in your head. There's nothing even close to it. And if you can condition yourself to really focus on, people are, for the most part, they are honest and they are trustworthy and they are loyal. And if we immediately go to the other side, you can tarnish relationships, and sometimes it's hard to repair those. So it takes some intentionality and a lot of practice and a lot of reps to start from a place and tune out the negativity and focus on asking those questions and clarifying things and making sure that, you know, it's not as bad as you thought it was. Okay, on to number 5. Be an addition, not a subtraction. Contribute to the team with positivity is in the fine print. So this is an easy one. Of course, we're always focused on, even one of our 5 teams expectations is no negativity. And I think this relates a lot to this one, because the reason we put that up there is because we want people in our jump starts and a part of this company and contributing to this team in a positive way. And there's always room to vent out your negativity with a leader or somebody who you kind of can go to get that off your chest.
Yeah.
But that's not a place to do it is in a meeting. We're looking for people contributing to the team and being an addition to the team, never a subtraction. So how have you seen this play out, Jared?
So I've seen it play out as recently as within the last couple months. Okay. So in St. George, out of that office, we had the team built up, a lot of good components, and just trying to break through. And there was a cast of characters that, they had some success with us individually. I love every single one of them. If I seen any of them, I would give them a hug. But they also, they brought our averages down. They were fine to make 4 sales a month, maybe even have a month without a sale and get put on a PIP just to get enough sales to get off the PIP to get back on one. And what happened was we finally decided, okay, it's time to let those guys go because what they're doing is affecting the culture. They're being a subtraction to the culture. Just the fact that they're okay with the subpar performance, the entire bar of the team is down here. It's now lowered. So what happened was we had to make some hard decisions, have some difficult conversations, get radically honest, and let some people go. And what that did was all those people that had the bar down here, all of a sudden we released them, and then the bar raised up to the quality of the guys that we had that were being consistent and having success.
Yep.
And by getting rid of basically the people that were being a subtraction to us, I mean, it had an addition of they almost tripled the revenue the next month. And
right. With a smaller team.
And in doing so, set an office record. And this month are currently on track to beat that previous record. And what they're doing is by having their culture, addition by subtractions, now they're attracting even better quality people, coordinators that are just adding to that baseline that's up here now instead of that lower baseline. So that's what I've seen that real life last quarter, last 3 months. And exactly. It's crazy how true it rings.
And it's a great point too, because one of the reasons we have these things in place, like core values, team expectations, and our code of conduct, is to have a bar that we've set. And there's periods of time, especially early on in business, where it's hard to hold ourselves to those standards, especially when as we're developing a team and it's kind of small and we're still trying to get a hold on like, how do we establish this and how do we like really implement it into a team and how high can we hold these people to these standards? But as the momentum is built up, especially in the St. George office, there's so many people having success and there's so many people operating at a high level and living up to those high standards that it makes it easier to see, first of all, when somebody is a subtraction, and then it makes it a whole lot easier to make a decision to let them go because we're looking out for the best interest of the team as a whole. And they're tough decisions to make, but now we've been able to see over and over and over as we make those decisions. We know when we need to make them. It's sometimes hard because we love these people, but then over and over and over, we're able to see the addition by subtraction and how it affects the entire culture of that office and everybody's mentality. And the bar that they've set for themselves is now raised because they don't see us making exceptions to our code of conduct, core values, and team expectations.
Yeah, then you have everybody in that meeting that is being an addition because you eliminated those subtractions. Mm-hmm. So it's only up from there. It's fantastic. And in operations, this is a continued subject that we talk about all the time. I've told Jefferson probably the first couple of months that I worked here is operations is just a problem-solving department. That's all we do. Is just solve those problems. And as we grow from a $13, $15 million company to a $31 million company, the problems are going to change and they're going to grow and we're going to have more and more and more. One of the things that upsets me the most when working with people is when people run into a wall or a problem and they just throw their hands up.
Yeah.
No solution. That is by definition being a subtraction. That's negativity. That's, I got nothing to give. I got nothing to contribute here. If you come to me with that and you don't have solutions or attempt solutions, I'm not going to help you either. Like, you're not willing to work for it to be an addition to the team.
Yep. That's it's an obvious mismatch.
Yeah.
Because we're growing, and the only way that we can grow is if people are focused on solutions and how they can contribute and not just waiting to be fed the answers.
Absolutely. And we've gone over it many times. Like, sometimes we're so focused and so narrowed in on one aspect of the company, we may not see the solutions that other people are seeing. Haley and Ryan and Cody and Ray and Jason have great solutions. And if they come to us with those solutions that we don't think of, it's molded this company into what it is today. Exactly.
Because we have so many solution-oriented people that bring their ideas and their opinions about things. Mm-hmm. It's important. Sometimes it's a little bit of a slap in the face, like, oh, how did we miss that?
Embarrassing. Yeah.
That's embarrassing. But it's so important to have that kind of culture and environment where people are comfortable being able to be radically honest and bring these things to the table and are able to contribute in those ways positively.
Yeah. And to keep it going, to cultivate that they're bringing that positivity into the solutions, to give them the recognition. Not everybody thrives on recognition. Yeah. If I tell you, hey, Cody came up with this, he doesn't care that I told you he came up with it. Cody's great like that. But them realizing that their solutions that they brought to the table were valued, it's huge to continue to bring those solutions to the table.
It builds confidence.
Yeah, exactly.
It opens it up for them to be creative and to know that there's a seat at the table for them to come up with these ideas and for them to be implemented. And like Jared said, it's not like everything can be implemented right away. Some of these things, like I was just having a conversation with Andres today, and that guy has got some amazing creative ideas that are going to contribute to this company long term.
Yep.
But for us to pile all these things onto everything else we got going on right now, it's just, it's not manageable. We can't do it all.
We got Katie now.
We do have Katie now. She's going to be able to increase our bandwidth significantly.
Pile them on.
So we will start piling those things on, and one at a time, we're going to chip these things out.
Yeah. Well, I'm having all those guys. I'm encouraging all the sales leaders to start creating some lists of ideas and projects and different things, and then we can meet about them, put some priorities on them, and then start implementing them.
100% beautiful. I love that. Extreme ownership. I think everybody in this room has read Extreme Ownership, and we put this thing on the list for the code of conduct because probably the impact that it made on us, each individually as leaders, with this concept of just taking extreme ownership. There's a book that's called The Success Principles that Jack Canfield wrote, and his number one success principle is take 100% responsibility. And I bet if you ask Jocko Willink what his number one success principle is, it's take extreme ownership, which is basically the exact same thing.
Extreme ownership, accountability, responsibility. The idea behind it is it's easy just to say, oh, that didn't work because of this, or that didn't work because of that. And I've seen it with a lot of people as we've tried to develop them. Maybe there's an issue that or a problem that they have, and instead of being solution-based oriented and figuring it out, they just change directions. And I guess what I'm getting at is it's really important for, say, me as a leader to take accountability. These guys' success is completely up to me. If Andres' office is successful, if it's not successful, it's completely up to me. And it's because I set these guys up for success. So with how we set up area, up the meeting times, how we set up, all of that plays into the big picture. And if we're lacking on any one of those things, it's not their fault, it's my fault. It's up to me to get that stuff designed and implemented and ensure that they know what to do with it. So, it could be easy if, say, we have a new hire class fall off. We can be like, oh, well, what's Joel doing that's turning these people off? Or I can be like, have I set Joel up with the proper tools? Have I spent the time to make sure that Joel knows exactly how to implement this training? And the reason why we have the timing on when we give them the script and the whole thing. Yeah. If I haven't taken extreme ownership of that and done everything in my power for them to be successful, I have to take accountability for their lack of success.
Yeah, it's something that comes with time. We all didn't start from a place of extreme personal accountability. I remember early on in my sales career, hearing accountability for the first time. I didn't even know what it was. And one of my mentors asked me if I would like an accountability partner. I remember it clear as day. And I had to ask him, I was like, what does that mean? And I wasn't ready at that point in my life for any extra responsibility or any extra accountability. And I said, oh yeah, sure. Never took him up on it. I wasn't yet ready to take 100% responsibility and to take extreme ownership for my results. And early on in my sales career, like a lot of people do early on, is they blame everything else except for themselves, taking no responsibility in my lack of results, lack of money, lack of productivity. And as you elevate yourself and want to become a professional and become an expert in whatever field that you're in, taking extreme ownership is maybe one of the most important things, because everything that you produce, every outcome, negative or positive, is your fault. And once you start to realize that, doesn't matter how simple or how small or how it took you off your trajectory, you take responsibility for it, you start looking at things differently. Yeah. You start tackling that next project, that next obstacle, that uncertainty, you start just tackling it differently. So this is an important one for everybody here at JKR Windows to understand the importance of this with extreme ownership and how it applies to your own personal accountability from the earliest stages of sales up through the initial stages of leadership and all the way up through the whole process.
Yeah, this is such a good book. Like if you guys haven't read it, read it. It's fantastic. It's incredible. I remember driving up to the leadership summit where we came up with the code of conduct. Yeah. And I was actually listening to this book on the way, and it's just punching me right in the face because it's hitting a little too close to home for me, the extreme ownership position, you know? So as we look at it, one of my favorite things to do is just when we're talking about a problem and I look at Ryan Baker, and say, Ryan, what do you think? He'll say, accountability. It's the answer to everything for Ryan. So the ownership, the extreme ownership has levels within our organization. Yeah. If Ray is scheduling an install to happen and she schedules it for the wrong day or puts it on the calendar for the wrong day, I know that hurts Ray personally. At the same time, that affects me. Yeah. You know, if there's a problem that's made in ordering or scheduling or a service appointment, that's a reflection of me and my training and my inability, like Jared said earlier, in the communication. Mm-hmm. Like, did I not explain clearly enough how to do this? Did I not make this path clear enough or simple enough to get this done?
And then it immediately has you looking for solutions because you're taking ownership for it.
Yeah, because it hurts.
It's like, this was a breakdown in our process. Mm-hmm. What could I have done better? What was I lacking in that instruction, those expectations I set with them for this specific process? Right. And then you're immediately going to a place where it's not blame, like you're wasting time on blame.
Absolutely.
You're wasting freaking time. There's no reason to do it. And the professionals, the experts, don't waste any time on blame. They're immediately going to, what's the solution? What could I have done better? What did I miss? How could I do it better next time? And the only way you get to that place that fast is by taking extreme ownership in every area of your life.
And I think stack, and I think that supports radical honesty, and I think that it supports approachability. So, like, if my team, if they know that I'm going to take, like, I'm not going to come down on them, it was your fault, they're going to be more likely to come to me with things, you know? So it super important, obviously.
Yeah. I love that one.
That you share in that responsibility with them.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 7, embrace change and innovation. Why do you think we came up with this one?
I love this one.
Even just saying that brings back like memories of when people weren't embracing change and innovation.
Yeah.
So my perspective is I've been lucky enough to be a part of multiple fast growing companies. And it's something that I've just have been used to. It's par for the course. Now, like I said, I'm lucky because it's kind of been my expectation with work. When people don't expect change, they're very resistant to it when they're not open to change. And let's face it, it's a growing organization and we're always trying to do things better. It's not like we got it figured out. But yeah, so I mean, the change, it's always going to happen, especially being part of like a growing organization and embracing it and innovating and changing for the better.
Yeah, being a part of the change.
And it's a conversation I have with, being a part of the change. And it's a conversation I have with like, and we're always trying to change for the better, especially when you look at our comp plan. we've changed our comp plan. I had the conversation the other day with someone, a new hire director. I was like, we've probably changed the comp plan 15 times for the directors, but it's always been for the better. We're always looking to do things. If we can make sense of it, we're going to do it for the better. And, Salesforce is a big thing too. It's like, that's been one of the biggest obstacles we've had, is getting that rolled out to the Salesforce. And because it's a huge change. And it's also a huge innovation. And now that we've started we've implemented it, we got some things we're working on to make it better, but just the reports that we can see, the graphics, the visuals we can see, the innovation, people are starting to understand why we made that change and are supporting it. And we've actually had people, that's built our credibility as a company, that change in innovation that we've implemented. And we're starting to attract better people into our company because they want to be a part of a company that takes that stuff seriously.
It is, yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, we are still pretty early on in the process when it comes to business. And one of the things that we pride ourselves in is we're always looking at how we can innovate and what's the next level for us. How do we become more efficient, more effective, and incorporate technology in as many areas as we can so we can have more visibility and use data to make decisions. And not all that is visible from the sales side. So the more transparent we are and the more that we're able to articulate our vision for this and why we're doing things and not just like forcing it down people's throats, the easier it is for people to embrace change and innovation within the company, because we've kind of gone back and forth with how do we do it? How do we approach this? How do we do it in a way where everybody's going to see our vision, and how do we include them in the process of implementing these changes and talking about the innovations that everybody else can contribute to? Because there's a lot of ideas that haven't came from right here in these two chairs. They've came from other places, like sometimes the least likely places we're getting some of these ideas from. And it's like, you know what? I don't know why I didn't think of that myself.
Yeah.
Because it was like right there in front of us. It's like, what?
Another embarrassing moment.
Another embarrassing moment of something that seemed so simple, but was brought to the table by somebody sometimes who was only here for a very short period of time.
Right.
Or they've been here for a long time, and all of a sudden they feel comfortable enough to start sharing ideas and getting creative and letting some of their juices flow. And one of the reasons that we put this together, and what I was talking about early on in the process, was that before we got good at those things, and we were just making executive decisions, just rolling things out on people, we had a lot of pushback. Mm-hmm. So we put this here intentionally so people look at it and they see it, and we're planting seeds, and we're always talking about, like, we are never going to stop growing. We're never going to stop innovating. We're never going to stop trying to do things better than we are today. Otherwise, it's we've all heard it. If you're not growing, you're dying. And we don't ever want to die. We want to thrive.
Yeah, one of the biggest representations of this, of the innovation, actually I have so many stories about this because it's such a big one. But last time we changed the comp plan and we put all the bonuses in place and everything, we got so much pushback from it. You remember that?
Yeah.
We were like shocked that we were getting pushback from rolling this new comp plan out that was simpler and more beneficial. But it was because of how we rolled it out. It was because how we presented it. We talk a lot about intent versus perception.
Yeah, because we were proud of it. We knew that we had just innovated this thing, simplified it, and made it such a better opportunity, I guess. Yeah. Such a better opportunity. But we were so excited about it that we forgot about that extra step that we've learned so many times is as important as the entire development of this thing. Yeah. But we skipped right over it again.
Yeah. And I think it's important for everybody in the company to look at intent versus perception. We come up with ideas, or somebody comes up with ideas, and we get excited and we roll it out. But step back and look at what the intent is rather than your perception of it. Mm-hmm. It's a two-way street every time. And Salesforce, one of the biggest things, I'm glad you brought it up, Jared. It's a glaring obvious one that we have to look at with the innovation and the change, and nothing's the same and everything's changing constantly. But the overall picture of what Salesforce is going to do for us in the long run as a company, I would love everybody to visualize that and where that's going to take us with those reports. Before Salesforce, Jefferson and I talked about data all the time, and it kept coming up. And how do we get this data?
Where does it come from? Like,
where's this?
Do we need to hire a data architect? Like, there was all these conversations that went on. We had no idea where it was going to come from, but we were working in that direction. Yeah. and constantly having conversations and talking to experts. And we landed on Salesforce. And now, even when we started, we didn't realize the capabilities it was going to have. And today, we're still figuring it out. In a year from now, we're going to be doing different things and more advanced types of things inside of there that we don't even realize are capabilities yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And the challenge that we want to put forward to everybody is it's not the last change. It's not the last innovation. Be open to it. Be along for the ride. Like, we want your feedback on change and innovation as well.
Yeah. We're not, for heaven's sakes, we're not trying to do this to make your lives difficult.
No. We want to grow and get better. And we want your feedback on how to grow and get better as well. And embrace it, because JKR Windows is a rocket ship. You know what I mean?
Yep. Not everybody's ready for an intense rocket ship ride.
So it's like a rocket ship that's also a Rubik's Cube that's changing in the process while we're flying. So
that's a good way to explain it. You got to embrace it. It's just part of this ride. Now, number 8 is be the why. Represent your why and the JKR Windows why in every action. What do you think about that one, Jared?
Well, with that one, I think that plays into our culture. It also plays into, as we talk about, hey, we're a people development company that just so happens to sell Windows. And talking about our why is really important. Like, the reason why I am disciplined and committed to doing what I'm doing is because there's a certain freedom that I want for my life. There's a certain value that I would like to provide for the people around me. And the conversations we've had, Jefferson, where I've taken my nephews that never saw the ocean before, took them deep sea fishing, just have the opportunity to provide them with an experience they'll never forget, So I have to remind myself why all the time, because if there's a particular morning, and a lot of people know I've dealt with some pretty serious health issues, and there's some mornings where I'm just like, don't want to do it, don't want to get up. But then I start thinking about, why it is I'm doing what I'm doing. And it's just like these magical hands grab me up by my shirt collar and take me throughout my day. And by the time I show up to the office, all those doubts or whatever it is, they're all gone. The energy's there. And, I'm excited to be there. I like to be there. It's just, there's those certain mornings, other mornings I wake up ready to take on the world, and we all have ebbs and flows to our lives. But the why is really what sees me through. But it's important. Like, I keep in front of me. I got a whiteboard in my room. I got a whiteboard in my dining room. I keep a planner with me. I write these things down every day. I keep them in front of me, and the constant reminders. And by me, kind of living the why, that helps set the standard for, say, the sales organization, because, I'm not going to do them anything I don't expect. I can't ask them to do anything that I'm not doing myself. So I have to embody that for them to really, and can I do a better job? Absolutely. But it's painting the picture and using stories. I get vulnerable with these guys, and I share things with them and experiences with them. And it creates a relationship with these guys, and they start figuring out really what makes me tick and what my why is. And they share their experiences with me and what their why is, because we all kind of have some superficial whys, and then we have some deep level ones that it's hard for them to come out unless you get a little bit vulnerable with people sometimes. So that's something I've been really focusing on, is building a relationship with everybody from top to down within the sales organization. And they start understanding what my why is at a level of the regional director, and they understand the things that kind of the reasons why I do stuff. And also, as they start to tell me things about their life and their story, then we start finding commonalities and maybe give them a little bit of advice. And even sometimes they give me some advice. But that's kind of what I see being the why is embodying it, living it, and creating a vessel for people to see that and attach to.
Yeah, one of the things that comes to mind for me is the speed of the leader is the speed of the team. So, whether you're early on in the process of leadership and contributing to the team outside of just looking out for yourself, that's what this means to me, is the stronger your why is, the more outwardly you're presenting this attributes of leadership and representing yourself professionally and operating at a high level, putting in all the actions necessary to go out there and fulfill your goals and your dreams. And then when it comes to JKR Windows, everything that we do is a representation of ourselves and for the company and the culture of JKR Windows. So we've got the clearer we are about what our mission here is and what our vision is for JKR Windows and our mission statement and the things that are so important for us to have a vision for people to go and execute on. It's every bit as important to have those things exuded from us each individually as leaders for our own personal whys and why we do things, and between family and lifestyle and building wealth. They're all a representation of little things that these people can all attribute to their own situation in one way or another. Like, how can I take what Jared Everett is doing on a day-to-day basis, as many challenges as he's been through, and he still shows up with all this enthusiasm and excitement and commitment? What little pieces of that, and sometimes it's just subconscious, they're just picking up on this stuff and they want that in their life. And that's what that is. It's like, how do I start applying those things in my life? These things that are going to help me with my future, my leadership, how I contribute to a team and contribute in my life.
Absolutely. We're all individuals that make up the JKR family. So as we strive to understand our why, to know our goals, what we want to personally accomplish, the greater that is, it's going to push the JKR why as well. Currently in operations, we're reviewing our personal, professional, and financial goals, top 3 of each. And every time I talk with somebody in operations about it, I want to help you guys accomplish your goals, because the more you accomplish your goals, the more JKR will accomplish its goal. We have to work together of why do I get up every morning to go to work? As a growing company, it's hard sometimes. We run into a lot of situations that are tough and we don't want to deal with. But why are we doing it? What's the overall goal that we're shooting for here? And I think, Jefferson, you've laid it out perfect. What is the ultimate goal here of what we want to accomplish and why we're doing it? Being a people development company is such a huge part of it. And not to say that we're perfect at being a people development company. We still have a long ways to go, and we know that. But why we're doing it is what drives us to get better and better every time.
Yeah, it's different than just our customers are numbers and we're just looking at the bottom line and we're just production. Get the numbers up and we're just focused on these things. It's never been like that here.
No.
But there's a reason why that is. It's because of who we are.
Yeah.
Like, that was never even an option for us. This is who we are. This is what drives us. This is what makes JKR Windows tick. And that was kind of an epiphany that we had probably early on in Jared's career here, was that we're not a freaking window company. We're a training and development company that we just so happen to sell windows. That puts things into a different perspective for ourselves and for new people coming in here.
Yeah.
Like, it's written all over the wall for the places that don't have that. It's just about the numbers, and it's taken the personal aspect out of showing up and enjoying your career there.
Right.
And that's never something that we wanted to have, but we need to continue to embody it, embrace it, and live it as leaders. So it lives on when we reach 30 million, when we reach 100 million and 200 million, that still needs to be as strong in those areas as it does when we're delivering for our customers at the very highest level. And there's no other companies willing to do it at the level that we're doing it. And we will continue to attract the very best people because of those things that we're not going to make exceptions on.
Absolutely. It's one of the biggest things that separates us from every other window replacement company out there. You talk to their customers, you run into runs into somebody that's gotten a quote from these other companies. That's what separates us.
Yeah, it's so easy to see.
Yeah. Our willingness to go above and beyond the manufacturing warranty to take care of homeowners, like Jared mentioned earlier, take care of RMK customers.
Yeah.
Like, your why is bigger than just replacing their window. We're building relationships. We're developing not only ourselves and our salesmen, but also creating those relationships with customers that are a lot longer lasting than a transaction.
Yeah, whether they do business with us ever again or not is irrelevant. We made a commitment to them. We are going to follow through and make sure that no matter how long it's been, or even if it was for another company that I sold windows for, those are still my customers. I still made that commitment to them. And they call me years and years later, remembering those words coming out of my mouth and expecting me to deliver and testing me 4 years later. Just had another guy that I sold in Arizona calling and testing me.
So follow through.
Now, what about be present? Be present. Jared, that's number 9.
This one's really important for the sales organization, not only in our jump starts, our trainings, but in their interactions with our customers. So with the jump starts, I mean, we're there to get motivated, to get energized, and you got to leave the problems at the door and go in there and just be a part of the energy. Like, go ride the wave in there. That's what it's for. It's to provide you to get jump started, to get after your day. And if you're going in there and you got your bedhead going on and you're kind of dragging your feet and you got some cat hair on your shirt, looking at your phone the whole time, like, don't expect to have success. Don't expect to be around very long. So it's super important to be present, to get the most out of what it is that we're doing within those jump starts. Obviously, training, being present. We provide some world-class training with JKR Windows, whether it's our internal training, whether it's through our Grant Cardone University. It's super important to be a part and present of those and engaging in those trainings, because if you want to have success, we've got the tools to get you there. You just got to pay attention to it. But then also, again, with our customers. So if you're on the doors and you're setting an appointment, you're present enough to understand their situation and figure out how we can solve their problem, have it make sense for us to run the appointment. You got to be present enough to be cued into that sort of stuff. And same thing for a director that runs the appointment. You got to be present. You got to understand what's going on. You're not there it's not a transaction, but they're the relationship. And how can you build a relationship if you're not present with the customer?
One of the things that sticks out to me about this is something that I've struggled with personally, being present as a leader and as a father and husband. So, again, like everything else on this list, it applies to every area of your life. And as a leader, we have responsibilities to listen and to hear people out and to be very intentional and present in those moments when people are trying to be vulnerable with us, whether it's sharing some creative ideas or talking about some concerns that they have. And it's such a busy world, so many distractions. We can easily get our mind taken in all kinds of different directions. And I still struggle with this. But for me, this one is so important as one of our values in JKR Windows, to be present with our people and let them know that we value them and we're listening and they are heard, and that you're engaging with these people because you listened and you're responding with something valuable for them. So how does this
the book, The Culture Code? I'm almost finished with that, and it covers that presence, being present with leadership. Even like, it's not that you even have to always have something to say, just the fact that you can actively listen, being present. It's all the difference for these people.
That's absolutely right. The listening aspect of being present is always the one that hits us as leaders or husbands, fathers, whatever it may be, is listening to understand rather than listening to respond.
Yeah.
Being present to understand where somebody's coming from or what they're talking about, what they're concerned about, what their ideas are, rather than listening to get through what they're talking about so I can interject what I want to say.
Yeah.
So being present for the people, being there to understand where they're coming from, to help them with what is actually going on. Jared, you brought it up earlier, like what's the underlying thing that we need to get to here? Listening to, it's always going to come out when you're listening. What's happening, it's always going to come out of
because it helps bring people's walls down too.
Your genuine listening is going to bring their walls down.
He's listening. He's paying attention. He's
cares.
Engaging.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Yeah.
Like, tell me more about that.
Yeah.
People love to talk about themselves and they love to get things off their chest. And if there is a conducive environment for it, because you're present and you're listening and you're intentional, that's how we continue to build those relationships and let people know that we care. They're not just a number here. We want to contribute to their lives, because we know that the more that we can bring that out of them, the more that they can contribite to the team here.
Absolutely. As Jared said, these all stack up. It's really hard to be an addition to the team when you're not being present. It's really hard to be radically honest with somebody when you're not present enough to know what's going on. It's really hard to take that extreme ownership if you're not present enough to know that it was your fault or that you're not accountable for it. So being present kind of underlines all of them for me.
Yeah. And last but not least, as leaders, this one is maybe as important as anything for us to be able to hit our goals and to continue to develop this company and innovate. Number 10 is continuous learning and improvement.
Man, that's what we got to hang our hat on as leaders. That there's no other way to be a leader without that being like the major aspect of what we're doing. It's the law of the lid. Like, we want to take this to a $200 million a year company. Guess what? The people that we are right now, that's not the people that are going to get us there. So we need to turn ourselves into the people that lead a $200 million a year company. We're not going to get there resting on our laurels. Yeah, last month was great. So what? It's a sports thing. You're only as good as your next play. Yeah. So we need to show up, continue to innovate, continue to grow, continue to learn. And, that all falls into a people development company, right? That's part of developing. So as far as from the guy who knocks your door, from the guy who is the CEO of the company, the best version of you is going to have the best chance for success. The best version of you that shows up at their door. I make this analogy all the time, or like this comparison with when I'm talking to new hires. It's like, okay, you get 2 new hires. They put in equal amount of times on the door every day. They do all their training the same, everything. They show up to all the jobs. But one of them takes their personal development seriously. He's reading books to get better. She's doing her Grant Cardones every morning. They're taking their diet seriously. They're working, they're exercising, they're writing their goals down. They're like implementing strategies to better themselves, and discipline and consistency and all these things. Okay. So you get these two people. One of them, they put in the same amount of time on work, but one of them puts in all this personal time. Who do you think is going to be better at the end of that year?
Yeah,
it's going to be that easy one person that put in all that extra time. But yeah, so that's my spiel on it.
I think this one's interesting because continuous learning and improvement, strive for continual growth. As you look at these 10 code of conduct, there's 2 of them that are directly from influenced by books. Extreme Ownership, incredible book that has influenced us so much and helped us grow. Be the Why, guarantee. I mean, I was there, but guaranteed stems from Start With Why by Simon Sinek. Yep. Reading books is such a big part of, I know, our 3 lives. We love to read and to learn more. And that's, carried out through the culture of the company with our book club and everything. But as we continue to grow, like Jared said, with leadership, we need to get better so we can be the $200 million leaders that we need to be, because none of us have been in this position to run a $30 million company. But we're learning to get there, and we're willing to learn to get there. And the people that we are leading or working with, they are growing and learning at the same pace, sometimes quicker than us as well, because they embody that as well. They want to learn and get better. That's why they're here. That's why we go through the hard times, is because we are pushed to learn and to grow every day.
Yeah, and without those challenges, without the uncertainty, without these hurdles and these obstacles that get put in front of us, there is no opportunity for growth. So you need to embrace it, like some of these other things. Embracing the change, embracing the challenges that come with growth. And at every single level, there's an opportunity for it. And you can look at it as a victim and like, poor me, and this world is just coming down on me at every step, at every corner. Or for me, I think it's just kind of been naturally instilled in me by my mom and dad that every one of these opportunities was a growth experience. It's a learning opportunity, and it's molding me into the man that I was meant to be. And I've had my ups and downs and my questions, but just naturally those things happen throughout life. But then also those extra steps, like you're talking about, Jared, with that one person that just lets life happen to them and they're learning those lessons, but then they're missing a huge opportunity for growth and expansion of their mind and their knowledge and their skills by not taking the coaching and the mentoring and reading the books and listening to the podcasts. And that's turned into, I don't listen to music anymore. Like, I love music and I love karaoke, but when I'm in the car, that's such a great opportunity for me to listen to the book to listen to a podcast, to find something that's going to help me level up. We've got all this time that we drive around that's wasted if we're not taking advantage of it in that way. And every day I'm trying to find a way to level up, to get better. Even if it's just a tiny bit, I know that I'm putting in the effort to get better and I'm making progress. And it may not seem like a lot is happening because we're all pretty impatient people as A personalities. And we want shit to happen fast. And I want to read this book and I want to absorb all this knowledge and just level up as a leader and a communicator. But it still takes the time in between to implement and get the reps. But the first step is being intentional about the things that you do with your time and what you allow into your space, and this focus on personal development and putting good content in front of you every opportunity that you get. From Grant Cardone to, we've talked about 7 or 8 books on this podcast. Mm-hmm. There's no excuse. Like when people reach out to me and ask me what book they should read, I just want to slap the shit out of them. It's like you've probably just overheard 7 or 8 recommendations in the last 2 or 3 days of your life, and you weren't even present enough to take them seriously or write them down. And here you are, like you're doing something special, and you're going to impress me by asking what book you should read. Like, just pay attention. There's opportunities everywhere, and if you're not focused on being intentional about getting better and improving and looking for opportunities to learn, they're just passing you by and you have no idea.
And as a people development company, continuous learning and improvement is what it's all about. If we're not willing to help somebody learn or put those opportunities, because we get a lot of people in the business that don't have that background or coming from diverse backgrounds where that's not a major focus. Learning and improvement, some of them struggled in school, so they don't want to learn anymore. But there's different ways to do it and improve, and providing that opportunity is huge for JKR Windows and part of the why.
Yep. So there is the 10 most important areas for JKR Windows, along with our core values and our team expectations. But our code of conduct, when we established this thing, it was like a breath of fresh air, like all these things that we needed to implement and to be able to talk about. And it's hard to talk about them until you establish them and they're on the wall. And now you can refer to them. And there's all these conversations that are easier to have because now we have a document. We have a poster on the wall at each one of our offices to draw on. And if somebody's dealing with something in any one of these areas, it's like, okay, understand we're all early in the process in one area or another. But here's an example of what you can do to start embodying these success principles and these things that are going to help you level up first as just an entry-level contributor, and then these early stages of leadership. And how do you start adding value everywhere that you go? And it's by embracing things like this, the code of conduct. Absolutely. All right, gentlemen. Another great episode of Just Real Quick. Thank you both for being here. Appreciate you. Jared, good luck with your thing this week, dude. We're excited to get that out of the way, but I'd be lying if I was saying that I wasn't a little nervous for you.
Yep.
So I love you, brother. Appreciate you.
Love you guys.
Until next time.
Appreciate you.
We believe in you. Bye, guys.
Until next time. We'll see you guys.
Later on.